into the woods behind his family home where he'd climb trees and swing about, pretending to be Spider-Man. He'd go out there, act out his comic book fantasies, hoping one day to transform himself.
Real quick, I just wanted to say that I'm trying a new format out. I'm using the 9:16 vertical as opposed to the 16:9 horizontal. I found that most of my subscribers are watching my videos using mobile devices or tablets. If you guys prefer this way, let me know. Otherwise, I can go back to the old way. We're just trying something different out. All right. If you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, this is what I'm primarily known for.
Get it! Get it!
But it might surprise you to find out that powerlifting, maximum lifting, max effort lifts, heavy lifts, is probably about 20% of what I do. The other 80% is all physical therapy, calisthenics, cardio, fun stuff. Stuff that every guy can do. You don't need to be an elite level bodybuilder, powerlifter, whatever, to participate in most of the activities I do day to day. As a matter of fact, I would say for longevity purposes, powerlifting is probably not your best option. Now, it is a ton of fun. I love to ego lift. I've always been a heavy lifter. It's got that chip on my shoulder, and that'll always be a part of me. But 50 years old, can't do this stuff forever. You got to take care of your body. Well, how do you keep doing the things you love without breaking down? Think of the body in terms of like a high-performance engine. You know, we'll say like a NHRA Pro Stock drag racer or an Indy car. Those engines go balls out for a short period of time, and what happens after every race? They practically have to be completely rebuilt. And that's what happens when you run a piece of machinery that's redline. Sure, I mean, you could put thousands of horsepower on pavement for a short period of time, but in that short period of time, everything just wears out and blows up. Conversely, if you took that same high-performance engine and all you did was idle it, it would probably blow up the first time you tried to step on the gas. So you got to break it in. That's the same thing with the human body. We have to condition ourselves. We have to condition ourselves to perform the function we're going to perform. And we have to make sure that we also rebuild ourselves, take care of ourselves, do our proper maintenance. Well, basically, you got to have both. You got to peg that sucker to redline every once in a while, but you need to break it in so that when you peg it to redline, it doesn't fly apart on you. You know what I mean? For example, I have a simple, modest, pedestrian, middle-class Mustang GT. I got about 10 grand in the engine. It's got a little bit of performance. It's no Ferrari. It's no Bugatti. It's just a Mustang, but it's got a decent enough amount of horsepower, and if you step on the gas, it'll get you to 150 miles an hour pretty darn quickly. It's got an awesome drivetrain. It's bulletproof, and I've never had any problems with it. We've done plenty of drag races. I've seen guys go on the strip. As soon as those lights turn green, they peg that gas, and next thing you know, the drive shaft shears and digs into the pavement, and the back wheels go flying off the car, and it tears itself apart in a epic fireball. And then they find out that they voided their warranty, and they're still making payments on the car, and it's like it's all bad. They didn't think it through. And, you know, I could take that car and I can run her and I have no issues with it. And it's my daily driver. I putt around in it. Same thing with my body. Look, man, we go do these competitions. We do 3 max effort lifts and we push ourselves to the maximum of our human capacity. You know, when you're on that platform and you're giving it every effort that you can, you almost feel like your body's going to fly apart. You're riding that razor's edge to where you just don't know. This could be the last lift. It's terrifying. It's exhilarating. It's awesome. Everybody's cheering, and you get that lift. And then over time, you realize, hey, my body can do this. The fear goes away. You've built the confidence, and you know you can do it. But the body can't do it forever. And you get little warning signs, just like that little check engine light comes on. The car's still running okay. Check engine light's on. Everything seems to be fine. You're driving, maybe the idle's a little rough. Maybe your knees are sore. Maybe your back's hurting. Maybe your shoulders got a little bit of pain. That check engine light, but everything's running. You know, still lifting. Everything's still working. Yeah, just keep going, right? You don't need to, whatever. It's probably just some, whatever, some sensor. Who knows? Some shoulder pain. Yeah, it's not that bad. Man, one day you go to max out, shoulder pops out of its joint. No warning whatsoever. Driving the car down the road. Smoke starts coming up. Next thing you know, it shuts down because it's overheating and you're stuck on the freeway. No warning. Everything was fine. No, it wasn't. That check engine light was on. No, it wasn't. You had a little bit of pain and it was consistent and nagging. But if we've never experienced these kinds of traumatic injuries, you might not know the warning signs. It might be just a little bit of soreness. You might not think it's a big deal. You know, your knees hurt. It's like, yeah, whatever. My knees always hurt. I'm 50 years old. Your body's in pain for a reason. That's that check engine light. And sure, everything seems like it's running fine. Yeah, maybe it is just a little tendonitis. Maybe, you know, maybe you do just have a little bit of inflammation. Or maybe your tendon's starting to separate and, you know, you're just not really, you don't have the pain reception. It's just not, it doesn't seem significant enough. You never experienced that kind of an injury before, so the warning signs might just seem like regular aches and pains, and you're just like, whatever, man, quit being a wuss, get to work. But that's when catastrophe happens. So it's all about paying attention to those warning signs and conditioning your body so that you can perform the function that you intend to perform. What am I doing in this video? I'm basically demonstrating some simple boxing moves. Old man boxing in his garage, whatever. You've probably seen a million videos like it. Nothing fancy, nothing to look at, nothing to write home about. Just some douchebag boxing in his garage. But when I take it seriously, I break down the movements and then I perform lifts that accommodate those movements so that I can perform them better in real life. For example, what you just saw, I perform a basic uppercut. Well, I like to then set my weights up to accommodate that movement using resistance, progressive overload. That does two things. One, it strengthens the motor pattern. Two, it prevents or it makes you more robust so that you are less likely to experience an injury. Now, a lot of boxers, for example, will go into the boxing gym, and if they haven't warmed up properly, they get into it and they might hit the bag, and all of a sudden, oh man, my elbow, my biceps are really hurting. It's jarring. You hit that heavy bag really hard, and all of a sudden you got a little bit of tendonitis going. Oh man, and it hurts. It'll start hurting, man. And that's a common one, amongst other things. It could be any jarring movement, any quick movement that's abruptly halted by a solid object. I mean, think about it. You're using all the force you can to smack something, and that something is then stopping you from moving. And if you're not conditioned, you don't know how to throw a punch properly, you don't have good form, you don't know how to hold your arms, whatever. It might be something simple, inefficiency or a breakdown in your kinetic chain, which now puts you in a position to where you get injured. You know, and it could be just a minor nagging, oh man, I got a little tendonitis. And that's not going to get better unless you let it rest and heal. And if you don't let it rest and heal, that's that check engine light. You're going to really, really potentially injure yourself. One of the things that we can do simply to bulletproof is diagnose the plane of movement and try to perform accommodating resistance in that motor pattern. That's really all I'm doing in this video. And it could be a variety of exercises. It doesn't have to be the ones I'm doing exactly in this video. But, you know, if you're going to throw a punch, you know, what is that? You know, it's shoulder, tricep, forearm, all the way through the knuckles. If you make that rigid and you tighten that up and you can feel, well, those are the movements I need to turn, I need to push, and I need to do something to strengthen the shoulder up. And then we can go further and go into the back and the hips and the feet and all that. But we can also break down those individually. But essentially what I want to do is I want to strengthen everything in that motor chain to where I can prevent myself from getting injured should something jarring happens. And most injuries occur during really fast direction changes or halts in kinetic and potential and kinetic energy. Halts in kinetic energy. Might put my science hat on there for a second. Here the example was rotating the waist. When you punch, you want to rotate. So we're doing resistance in that transverse plane, rotating. You see a lot of guys doing sandbag work for that, where they throw the sandbag side to side, or, they swing the hammers, or whatever you want to do. You want to do the twists with the cables. Find something to accommodate that plane of movement and provide resistance so that you can progressively overload. And the beauty of that is it's going to make your physique really pop too, man. 2 birds, 1 stone. Oh, the ab wheel. Great for the abs. Awesome for the abs. But what else is it doing? Shoulders. You got all that weight right here on your shoulders when you're extended. Obliques. When I'm turning the wheel out, that's these little bad boys. Doot, doot, doot. Get that core strong. Twisting movements. You want to be strong through that whole thing. Shoulders, obliques, abs. Man, bam. Look, the age-old argument: muscles don't make fighters. Just because a guy's big and strong doesn't know it means he knows how to punch. And you're right. That's 100% right, because I guarantee you that most of the guys at the gym I go to would whip my ass. And I'm by far the biggest boy in there. However, you teach a guy with muscles to use that force properly, you have an assassin. There's a reason why welterweights don't fight heavyweights. I'm telling you right now. Mayweather, best boxer of all time, but what would happen if you put him in the ring with Mike Tyson in his prime? Think that Billy Shell's going to save him? Maybe. So by now, you guys understand the premise of what I'm going for here. I demonstrate a movement. I show you some kind of resistance for that movement. And that's essentially what I'm doing this whole video. But I like to do that for any activity I'm doing. Whether it's rollerblading, basketball, hockey, rock climbing. Whatever function you're going to perform, I try to find some way of using my strength, my body, to make that better. I'm watching a video about some of the great football players of all time, and they were talking about like how much is genetics and how much is training. You take 2 running backs, 2 of the historical greats, the great Barry Sanders. I've never seen anybody who could change directions as fast as him, and he used to break people's ankles. They would fall over trying to tackle him. And you would say, well, that's God-given ability. Is it? Yes. I mean, if you train with Barry Sanders and do everything Barry Sanders does, are you going to become as good as Barry Sanders? No. There's only one Barry Sanders. But Barry Sanders himself said that the biggest attribute to his abilities and his ability to play and not get injured is his toughness, his robustness, was weight training. He was huge into barbell squats, and I've always maintained that no matter what sport you play, barbell squats is one of the best ways to make sure that you're bulletproof, and it enhances your natural ability. So he even claimed that weight training was indispensable to his abilities. Now, the running back is Walter Payton. Now, Walter Payton, you could argue, was just as good as Barry Sanders, but in a much different way. He didn't have the raw talent that Barry did, meaning his ability to cut back and forth and break people's ankles was not nearly as good. He was good. He was like a ballet dancer on the field. As a matter of fact, he was a ballet dancer. Since he didn't have the raw talent, the God gift that Barry Sanders had, what he did is he worked his ass off. He ran up and down this dirt hill that was at a really steep incline. And to this day, I think behind that Honeywell factory, they've preserved it to where Walter Payton used to run up and down this hill, and you can see the cleat marks in it. I'm sure they're eroded by now, but as a kid, we used to go and watch him run up and down this hill. It was really awesome. And he would do things like he actually took ballet, so he was a ballet dancer, and he did things like that to enhance his natural abilities so that it translated onto the field. Now, because of his insane leg workout, his lower body strength was to the such where people were afraid to tackle him, because what he would do is if he couldn't run around you, he would put you in his crosshairs, put his head down, and mow right through you. And he hit so hard that people were afraid of him. So you got Barry Sanders, who's untouchable, bing, 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 bing. And you got Walter Payton, who's unstoppable. And both of them use resistance training to enhance those abilities. I mean, think about it. You know, if you could squat 600 pounds, how much force could you produce off the line of scrimmage? It's real simple. All I do is heavy barbell squats. And I played basketball my entire life, but because of my knees, you know, getting older, I don't shoot hoops the way I used to. But I guarantee you, I can still go to the basketball court across the street right now, jump up and grab that rim, probably with both hands, and I haven't played basketball in close to a year. So how can I still be able to do that? Barbell squats. Heavy ass barbell squats, especially like the dynamic box squats where you're exploding off the box. I can generate so much force with these legs just because of the amount of weight that I'm pushing, that it just makes things like that easy. You know, look at LeBron James. You know, as much as I don't really care for him as a person, there's no denying that he is the most robust basketball player in history. I mean, he's 40 years old, still dunking, in awesome shape, and he does some of the ugliest barbell squats you've ever seen, but he does them. He does weight training, and it just, well, you know, it just takes what God gave you and enhances it and makes it better. Why wouldn't you? So why boxing? Why combat sports? Well, I've maintained up to this point that we should select activities that complement what we are trying to do. Now, my sport's powerlifting, and my goal is to be able to lift as much as possible for 1 rep 3 times. And it's insanely bad for your body if that's all you did. If all you did was train heavy, it's like that engine always are running that red line. Eventually, you're going to grind down those bursts. You're going to tear up that cartilage, the little wears and tears and strains and sprains that we get from heavy training. Think about it. I can have perfect form, a tight core. I can do everything right. And I step out with that barbell. And if I take one misstep and peg my hip, and that's all it takes, and just pop that joint, oof. Or if I'm picking up a deadlift and I don't have a perfectly tight core and I just slack just the tiniest amount and I hinge my back. And a lot of these, for most lifters, are minor injuries that heal after a few days, a week. But over time, they can become quite serious and they accumulate. Now, you don't see a lot of guys my age still performing at a high level in the sport because they've had these nagging injuries and they got worse over time, and they're not doing the things they need to do to repair and condition themselves for when they're not powerlifting. I mean, what's good about having the world's best squat if I can't bend over and pick up stuff on the floor? You know, I come home and my kids' toys are all over the place. I can't bend over and pick it up. Or, you know, you got the bench press records and you're still doing it. You can still bench 600 pounds, but you can't lift your shoulder over your head because you've torn that cartilage up, and now you're only good for that one plane of motion with a multi-ply bench shirt on. Like, you've seen some of these guys, like, they can perform these amazing feats of strength, but they can't tie their shoes. You know what I mean? And I'm not, look, Father Time comes for us all, so I'm not making fun of you or denigrating you. What I'm saying is you can turn it around. You can start doing those little things. You can start stretching every day. And over time, just like everything else we do, it gets better. You can't raise your arm over your head. Start raising your arm over your head. Find where that range of motion is and start working that. You know, seek the advice of a physical therapist. Do what you need to do to fix your body. Some of us have permanent injuries where, like, our backs are fused together. That's tough. You can't bend that titanium rod, but you know what, you can do everything you can do to get the flexibility up to that point. You know, I worked with a couple of guys who, when they first started barbell squatting, they could barely do a quarter squat. They had no range of motion. So we had to start from scratch and work them into that. And over time, they were able to perform full range of motion squats, all of them, except for one. But even he greatly improved. You know, even if you make modest improvements, it's still modest improvements. It's still better than you were before. It's all about quality of life. You know, outside of the sport of powerlifting, when I hang it up, I want to be able to do other things. Well, boxing kind of checks off all the boxes. First, I think it's a man's duty to learn how to defend himself and his loved ones. And you can always tell guys that have never been in a fight because they're usually super aggressive. It's like the dog that barks really loud to scare the other dogs away. Ooh, look at me, I'm big and tough and scary. You don't want to mess with me. And they're always mean mugging you, or they're talking crap, or they're puffing their chest out, or they just acting like 2-year-olds, and everything's like, oh, go kick their ass outside. Or, you know, it's like, that guy needs to get punched in the face because that answers that question. You know what I mean? Like when once you got into it a few times with guys that need to answer that question. What would I do when my life's on the line? If I'm on the battlefield and I'm taking fire, you've already been through that, so it's not there in the background. It's not. It manifests itself. These guys, these insecurities manifest themselves in all sorts of toxic ways. And I think like the combat sports really help a lot of guys temper that and become strong, assertive men that people want to be around. They're fun. They're not so serious about everything. You know, not everything's life or death. You look at some of the trolls I have that follow my page, and they're legitimately mad that I won't take the time out of their day to do their stupid challenges. And they're always trying to tear me down, like saying how much stronger they are than me. And it's like, I don't care, you know? And it's like, I would never, like, there's nothing I do that I do with them in mind. Does that make sense? This is like, you know, like as far as like weightlifting goes. And you simply ask, like, well, why don't you just do the challenge? You can't like over and press 135 pounds for 15 reps. And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't have the need to like prove myself in that capacity because it says what I do has nothing to do with anyone else other than me. I'm fighting the man in the mirror. You know what I mean? I grew up and I was a small guy and I was picked on and I had a lot of issues through my childhood to my adult life, and a lot of it was just me confronting me. And now I'm at the point where I want to see what I can still accomplish at the age of 50. And me boxing, I mean, it just checks it all off, you know? On top of learning to defend yourself and feeling more confident and becoming stronger, it also basically bulletproofs your entire body because the conditioning that you go through in order to go 3 rounds even will greatly enhance everything you do on the platform. It's almost like, think of it like this. Like, as much as those heavy bench presses will make it so you can punch harder, all those repetitions of body weight exercises and the repetitive motion and the calisthenics and all the crap that you do to get ready to be a fighter will bulletproof you so that when you're doing heavy bench presses, your tendons won't fly apart. You know what I mean? So it's like one takes care of the other, and it's all a system. It's symbiotic. Everything comes together, and you're just a machine. You're a well-oiled, high-performance machine that can do anything you want at the drop of a hat. And it still takes me 20 minutes to warm up in the morning when I'm getting out of bed. The bottom line, a body in motion tends to stay in motion. And find something and have some fun. Life is short. Don't take yourself too seriously. Get out there and enjoy yourself. It doesn't have to be boxing. It doesn't have to be powerlifting. It could be whatever you like. But get started. Get out there and do it. And share your experience, strength, and hope with others. I want to hear about what you do or what you're doing or what you're planning on doing. And who knows? Maybe we can help each other out. You never know. All right, kiddos. From what I understand, the man's back in office, baby. Yeah. I gotta go to work. It is early. I love you guys. I'll see you on the battlefield.